Shocking departure leaves millions in tears. Jungkook and Cha Eun-woo's final live broadcast ends in emotional silence just before military enlistment. What do you say when goodbye comes too soon? What do you do when two of the most beloved idols in South Korea, Jungkook of BTS and Cha Eun-woo of ASTRO, sit side by side for what is meant to be a comforting farewell, and one of them vanishes in less than 2 minutes? Fans around the world were left in collective disbelief as this unexpected and deeply emotional final live broadcast took a turn no one saw coming. What began as a bittersweet moment of unity between two global icons. The live broadcast that was intended to mark Cha Eun-woo's send-off to mandatory military service instead became a striking display of vulnerability, brotherhood, and unspoken pain. The live stream, initially promoted as a shared moment of reflection and support, turned into something far more powerful, a 2-minute interaction that said more than 1,000 words, followed by a silence that echoed across millions of screens worldwide. As the stream began, viewers were greeted with a split-screen view. On one side sat Cha Eun-woo, clad in a simple white shirt, his hair freshly shaved, symbolic, jarring, real. His expression was warm but solemn, as if trying to contain the gravity of the moment. Beside him, in a dark top, was Jungkook, smiling brightly, his eyes betraying an emotion far too complex to mask. The atmosphere was heavy yet tender, laced with a knowing sadness that pierced through the screen. But just as fans began to settle in, hoping for a heartfelt exchange, Jungkook exited the live broadcast abruptly, after only 2 minutes. Why did Jungkook leave so soon? What was so overwhelming about those few opening seconds that made the Golden Magne walk away from one of the most meaningful public interactions of his career? Speculation erupted immediately. Fans flooded social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Weverse, with theories, questions, and heartbreaking reactions. Some pointed out how Jungkook's eyes seemed to glisten just moments before he disappeared. Others noted that while his smile remained intact, there was an unmistakable tremble in his voice. A few theorized that he had not intended to stay long at all, that his very presence, no matter how brief, was a deliberate gesture of quiet support. But one idea quickly gained traction among fans. He left because staying any longer would have broken him. The emotional toll of seeing a close friend prepare to vanish from public life for nearly 2 years is not something even global superstars are immune to, especially when that friend is someone you've shared years of fame, struggle, and growth with. For Jungkook, this wasn't just a broadcast. It was a farewell he wasn't ready to confront in real time. Cha Eun-woo was left alone on the screen, his composure momentarily faltering. A brief pause, a long inhale, and then a soft smile. Resilient, but vulnerable. "I didn't think he'd leave that fast," he admitted, his voice carrying the weight of something left unsaid. But that's Jungkook. He always says so much with so little. The chat exploded. Fans responded with waves of crying emojis, heartfelt messages, and declarations of support. Yet even as emotions ran high, Eun-woo continued speaking with poise and grace. He thanked his fans for their unwavering support, but more than that, he thanked Jungkook. "He's someone who checks in on me, even when there's no reason to," he said. "Even when he's far away, he makes me feel less alone. That means more than I can put into words." For millions watching, the moment crystallized into something far more significant than a celebrity live stream. It became a symbol, a testament to genuine friendship under the crushing weight of fame and the emotional reality of military service in South Korea. These weren't just two idols saying goodbye. They were two brothers parting ways, each carrying the invisible burden of time, distance, and uncertainty. What made the scene all the more heartrending was not just the brevity of Jungkook's appearance, but the depth it carried. In just under 2 minutes, he smiled, waved, offered his presence, and disappeared. No grand speeches, no dramatic declarations, just presence, and then absence. The silence he left behind resonated louder than any farewell could. Fans couldn't stop rewatching those first 2 minutes. They analyzed every glance, every twitch of the mouth, every second of eye contact. And when Jungkook whispered his parting words, soft, almost too soft to hear, it was enough to send thousands into tears. "You'll do well. I'll be here." He looked directly at the screen, a promise veiled in brevity. Then, he was gone. Eunwoo carried the rest of the broadcast with strength and humility. He answered fan questions, shared a few final thoughts, and smiled through what was undoubtedly one of the most emotionally intense moments of his life. But perhaps the most powerful line came near the end. "I think I'll miss our midnight calls the most, Cook." A simple statement, unfiltered, raw, and utterly devastating. In those few words, the audience was given a rare glimpse into the private world of two global stars, revealing a closeness that no performance, no interview, could ever fully capture. Fans wept not only for Eunwoo's departure, but for Jungkook's silent heartbreak. The unspoken tension, the quiet sadness, the desperate attempt to appear strong, it was all on display in ways that made this live stream unlike any other in recent memory. What was meant to be a farewell to Cha Eunwoo became an unintentional spotlight on Jungkook's quiet vulnerability. Many speculated that he didn't want the attention, that this was Eunwoo's moment, and he simply came to stand beside him for a second before stepping back into the shadows. And perhaps that was his intention all along. But the way he did it, the timing, the visible emotion, it all painted a far more layered picture of emotional struggle, deep friendship, and unspoken pain. As the stream drew to a close, Eunwoo left fans with one final message. His tone was light, but the words hit hard. "Stay healthy, everyone. And Jungkook, don't forget to eat on time." It sounded simple, casual, but those watching knew better. It was a coded farewell, a soft plea from one friend to another, a final thread of connection before 18 months of silence. The broadcast ended, but the aftershocks were immediate. Fan forums exploded. Tribute videos circulated within hours. Trending hashtags like 2 minutes forever, "Stay strong Eunwoo," and "Come back safe" flooded every platform. But at the center of it all was one truth that no fan could deny. Something extraordinary had just occurred. This wasn't just a live stream. It was a revelation, an unraveling, a glimpse into the deeply human cost of fame and friendship when time is short and distance is inevitable. Even now, the fandoms remain shaken. Not just because Eunwoo has stepped away, but because of what was left unsaid between two of Korea's most beloved artists. Because Jungkook's sudden exit said more than words ever could. Because a goodbye wrapped in silence is often the hardest to endure. For Jungkook, perhaps the only way to protect himself and his friend was to appear, support, and then disappear. Not out of disrespect, but out of profound respect. Not to avoid goodbye, but to preserve it in the only way he knew how. In silence, in brevity, in love. And for Cha Eunwoo, left to bear the weight of the moment alone, the live stream was a masterclass in grace, in strength, in what it means to say goodbye not with fanfare, but with quiet dignity. In those 2 minutes and the echoes that followed, both men gave the world something rare, a genuine moment. Unfiltered, vulnerable, true. Now fans wait for Eunwoo's safe return, for Jungkook's next steps, and for the moment, someday, when these two brothers meet again, not through a screen but side by side, in a world a little more certain than the one they said goodbye in. And until that day comes, the world will remember those 2 minutes, the tears, the silence, the smile, the exit, and everything it meant, because sometimes the shortest goodbyes leave the deepest marks.